Welcome to the BBC.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Between Both Cheeks. I was just about to do this introduction like I was at a trade show. That's where my head is at. I felt like it was a presentation for the trade show. Welcome to another episode of Between Both Cheeks. We have a very special guest today. We have Angela Lark, who is the owner of the Sweetest Skin Company. Did I get that right?
You sure did.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Out in California. And we met Angela last year at the Long Beach show. And it was a little bit crazy because I was on my way to trial with a federal judge in Miami to stand trial in this court case that I was going to be in. Turned out Eileen Cannon, the judge that's currently on the Trump indictment case, my judge, said, you know what, don't come to Florida, go to mediation again. So I got to come to California and surprise the girls. I mean, Becca didn't even know I was going. And Becca is my right hand and she knows everything and she didn't know. So I rolled into town and surprised them. And then in our class, Angela kind of pulled me aside and we just started talking, and she had a story in regards to former staff members stealing and poaching her clients, and she was on her way to the courthouse.
Pretty much.
And I was like, sister, don't do it. It's just going to cost so much. Because I was thinking about me and what I was going through and all the money that I was spending in my energy. And no, she had it in her to go ahead and do this. And listeners, not only did she go ahead and do this and file this claim, but she ended up on Justice Judy. JudyJustice, sorry. She ended up on TV. And we just watched the episode a couple weeks ago and I was blown away. So I don't want to give details on what happened because we'll go through it with you. But Angela, welcome to the show. That was a very, very long introduction, but I needed to grab the listeners' attention on how crazy this is.
It really was crazy. Because I had no idea. Like, I didn't apply to get on. I didn't do anything to try to get on this show. Like, 3 days after I filed in small claims court in the state of California, I get a call from a producer, and on the thing, like, I don't pick up calls I'm not very familiar with. I really don't. I won't pick it up. But it said Culver Studios, and Culver Studios is a big studio head out here. And so I answered it, and she told me, she's like, I am one of the producers of JudyJustice. We get small claim court files all the time coming across our desk, and yours really grabbed our eye. And at this time, I had lost, between the 3 that left within a week, I had lost well over, I'd say 40% of the clientele. Yeah. And I took 2 of them to court. The one I didn't bother with, one of them, I don't know. I didn't have any proof of her solicitation. She had been there less than a year. I think she was on her way out as it was. But yeah, so that's what happened. And they called me. And then what happened was they had to get the approval. They asked me if I wanted to be on the show. Now I could take both of these 2 women to court, or I could and receive the maximum amount I was suing for, which was 10 grand, 5,000 from each. It wouldn't have mattered. Or I can just take one of the people. One of them, the one I took to small claims court that I did not take on to JudyJustice, was someone who had worked for me for 5 years. I was completely shocked. I was completely shocked that she did this. I was shocked they all did, but I was really shocked that she did that. But so I just thought, okay, I'm going to hash it out in small claims court with her. The proof that I had of solicitation from the one that I took to JudyJustice, like, to me, that was pretty solidified that I could win the case rather than split the cases up. So they had to get the approval from the defendant. Then it had to go through their legal team. Then it had to go through their executive producers. So I really believe in alignment and the universe, and everyone went for it. The plus side for the defendant to go on one of these court shows is they get released of the judgment that is that they will have on them if it just stays in small claims court and you win the case. They also wouldn't be responsible for paying the money themselves. It would come directly from the show. The show pays the plaintiff the money that is won.
So that's
also
that's why.
And then also, and it's guaranteed that I would get paid within 30 days of the show being taped.
Yeah, which you might not if you were doing it through her.
No, in small claims court, you can take someone to small claims court, and if you're trying to get money, take as long as they want. They can take it out of their taxes. They can, what is it when they do the paycheck?
Garner their wages.
They can garner their wages. But if you work for them, if they work for themselves, how are you supposed to do that? So I would never have seen the money.
Federal court is the same. You have to like re-sue to get your money, and then they can start. Been there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they could pay you like $10 a month if they wanted to.
100%. And so I said, yeah, because I was suing for the maximum amount, which was 10 grand. That's the maximum amount you can sue in the state of California. If I could have sued for 25 or 30,000, I 100% would.
So now it makes sense to me on why, because Beck and I were watching it together, and I was like, why would these women even go on here? Like, you're admitting that you stole these clients from a business. Like, why? One thing to do it, pretty ballsy to go on national television and talk about it, but that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that they all signed non-solicitation, non-disclosure agreements. What I knew was that non-competes don't fly in the state of California or any other state in. Non-competes don't fly here, and I believe Arizona. And but non-competes go in other states. What I've learned is that California really isn't about small businesses. They're really not for the small business. So I had to really make sure that this contract for non-solicitation, non-disclosure, no trade secrets, they could only operate outside of the 8-mile radius. So when I found out that they actually were taking and scheduling clients from their shift in their room with everything the company provided for them, they were scheduling them for their next shift over at the other their new location 2.3 miles away.
Oh my gosh.
And in their solicitation agreement, confidentiality solicitation agreement, they were supposed to be how far away?
8 miles. 8 miles away. Mm-hmm. And, here in this community in the Santa Clarita Valley, there's no more than you have to stay within, like it's a 10-mile, like one side to the other, all around in this community. So, I don't think they knew I was going to find out as quickly as I did as to what happened.
How did you find out?
It was something else. First, let me just say, absolutely, this was all meant to happen exactly the way it is. If this wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't be sitting here at my second location right now that we just opened in June.
Wow.
If this wouldn't have happened, I would not have, 5 full-time employees, the best general manager, best assistant manager, because I was hustling so much of it on my own and with someone at the front desk who's now the assistant manager, who's just phenomenal. Crystal and Dora. Crystal's my GM. None of this wouldn't happen. If this wouldn't have happened, it wouldn't have taught me what I lacked as a business owner as to why 3 people would leave in a week. I had to get really real with myself, and I had to set my ego aside and say, what else can I learn from this experience? Because it's still kind of baffled, like, why would you like stick it to me? Because that's exactly what happened. It was like, you know?
So why, like, what was that, Angela, that you realized about yourself as a business owner?
Yeah. So I realized that there's a difference between being personal and being personable. There's a difference between professional kindness and being up in each other's business. And I think that, and also what I learned was you have to set the standard and the policies, procedures from the get-go, because if they're trying to be changed in the midst of everything, and I was trying to change policies and procedures, and I didn't have a GM who was standing between me and the estheticians, or me in the front desk. It was always me. And I have had my own business since 2010. I started working for myself in 2009. In 2010, I established the Sweetest Skin Company. I worked for myself, then opened up a brick and mortar in 2000. And I've had people manage, but not in the way of what I needed. And I'm the front of house person. I'm like, everybody, hi, everybody. And then tell me to look at my books and look at my finances and look at that. And it's like, we're doing fine. Yeah. And to be successful, you absolutely can't have that. Just no way. That's been my experience. So I learned, those were 3 really valuable things that I learned. I do know that with the one that had been with me just a year, that was her very first esthetician job. I taught her, the art of sugaring, sugar hair removal, which I learned back in 2008 through Alexandria Professional, the world's leading company as far as I'm concerned. And I became an educator for that company as well years ago. And so they were trained and certified by me. And this gal had never worked in a salon before. And I was always encouraging her, always praising her, telling her what a great job she did. She, built the clientele in less than a year. And a lot of them were clients that I turned over and that they stayed on with the Sweetest Skin Company. There's something to be said for having a beautiful reputation, no matter who you hire, and great loyalty to your clientele. And I believe that is exactly what kept me going. Just like during the pandemic, when I was doing Prohibition Brazilians, it's that same thing. Is how do I treat these people? I'm so grateful that they're my employers. Like, our clientele is my employer as a business owner, because they are the ones who are feeding me and my family. They're the ones who are, so I treat them as such. 100%. We're very loyal to one another. So I was really grateful that, I might have lost 40% at that time, but they've been trickling back too.
I've always said, like, I wish someone had told me the best piece of advice that I would have been given when I opened up the waxing salons is, don't worry about the people that leave and try to poach, because those clients always come back. You've built something that is too fabulous, whether, it's the space, it's the products, it's the team, it's the loyalty program, it's the location. Like, when you have a storefront, you've really thought of every angle. And people that think that they can replicate that by stealing clients and opening up in the back of a nail salon, they will not hold on to that client, because the client has an expectation. And you know what? They might stray just to try it out. They always come back. Always come back. And the ones that don't, you don't want that client.
Mm-hmm. No, not at all. When this happened, when I found out It was, so the first one left, who had been with me for 5 years, saying that she needed to take care of her family. Her performance had gone way down. She had gotten a couple not so great Yelp reviews. She just came in, did her job. There was no extra of what she used to do. She seemed very unhappy. I know she was going through a lot of stuff with her family. And I got on her case one day about it. And we had a very transparent relationship. However, something happened in her perception where she felt I crossed a line in calling her out. And I think when people start colluding about one negative thing, the second one that left 5 days later, immediate resignation as well. And that's when I looked up to see where what she did. I still thought that this first person was really taking care of their family. That had nothing to do with here, but she had to just quit and go. But she wouldn't reply to any calls or texts I had. She blocked me. I was just like, okay, you know what? Grow up. And that's my thing too. It's like, I have to be able to be willing to deal with different personalities and how to navigate my professionalism with different personalities. But at that time, I was just like, she left all these people on the books. So I was working after the third one left within exactly 1 week. They still left tons of people on the books. It was bananas. So I started working 7 days a week, 10-hour days, because that's what you do. And so when the second one left that Friday morning, I was flabbergasted. I was just like, a former employee who used to work at the front desk happened to text me. I hadn't talked to her in a year and said, hey, just looking for some extra work if you need any help with anything. And I'm like, I need you here right now.
Meant to be.
And then my other employees that were there, I mean, and then during the course of that day, I found out that these two went into business together at a salon suite type of place 2 miles away. I had someone call me up and say, I have texts here of her soliciting me. I'm happy to come in and tell you about it. I had another client come in a week later and say, hey, here's a text from her. If you go to court, I'm willing to help you. Loyal client. Mm-hmm. And she was my witness on the show.
So because you alluded to something about, she was going through family problems. You were trying to help. Then came a point where, her performance started to slide. You had a conversation. There became an issue at that point. So talk about that. And is that where the personal stuff started to get in the way?
That's when I think she decided, what I think happened is that this one person who was there a year, the second person who left, who I never had one problem with, who had actually tanned me 2 days before she left, and we're kikiing and everything, and, and laughing. Like I hate to say this term, but wolf in sheep's clothing. That's kind of the vibe I got from her. And both times in court, the first person, I wish I could, the first person's court date, she was there, she couldn't look me in the eye either time. And I know if she saw me in the street, she would not be able to look me in the eye. I'll have to live that way. And I know what shame and embarrassment is like. And it's a terrible feeling. So if I saw her in the street, I definitely wouldn't shame or embarrass her, because she gets to live with that every day. Personable, not personal. So with this person, when I sat her down, I know I could have done it differently. I know I could have, instead of going from a place of fear of getting a bad review, fear of looking bad, because I was driven by different forms of fear. Mm-hmm. And so that fear caused me to react instead of pause and say, where is she coming from? What's going on with her? How can I help her? It might have kept her there. However, the way her performance had consistently been, I don't know if I could have had her there anymore, because she was just unhappy. But I know I could have done that differently. And I actually had the opportunity when I took her to small claims that day in court. The court dates happened to be one day after the other, just randomly, which I was really happy about because it set me up for the JudyJustice show the next day and showed me what I needed to prepare more for and all that. But I made an amends to her after court. I pulled her aside, and I don't know what she thought I was going to say, but when I'm wrong, I promptly admit it. And I said I could have done this differently. Could have had that conversation with you differently.
And was that the first, the first one that you see that is on the stand, or the second one that got called?
No, she was the only, so the small claims court date, the LA small claims court date, I took her there. And then the other one who came with her as her witness, they switched sides, you know. She wasn't called. The one I took to court the next day was not called that first day.
So who was it that you apologized to? The one that was with you for long term?
5 years.
That's huge.
Ego's a gnarly thing, right? I'm sorry, I just dated myself saying gnarly. But ego is a really intense, I don't want to say it's an emotion, but our egos will drive us into doing things based on fear, which later places me in a position to be hurt. And I didn't want to live with that. I really didn't. And that court case, you know, that kind of, even though I had her non-solicitation agreement, the judge even said, well, we'll see if this is binding. And honestly, I didn't hear back I never got any information back, and I didn't pursue it. And I was fine with that because I took the action. I wasn't out for revenge. Mm-hmm. I wanted it to sting, and I wanted to show her that, you know, you can't mess around like that and think it's okay. Mm-hmm. Now, they both ignored a cease and desist. Also, I hired an actual attorney to file a cease and desist, and all three of them ignored it. So that was with regular court, which costs a ton of money.
Yeah.
You know, that's with a regular attorney, which cost me a lot of money. And so I just followed through, though, and having the witness that I had and the texts and everything, and for the next date, I don't think she did not see what was coming. She felt very justified. Obviously, you saw in what she said.
Now, did they close their business after that, or are they still practicing?
No, they still work. However, they do not have what the Sweetest Skin Company has, which is a really great brand, amazing platform on social media and, you know, on the web. They just work for themselves in a room. They don't have the marketing that we have. They don't have the community connections that I have. You know, I'm involved with the LGBTQIA of San Fernando Valley, which is the valley next over to us, and here in Santa Clarita. You know, I am in a wellness center now where we have 9 different businesses all referring each other. You know, I have a name for myself for being in the business out here for 14 years. So there's something to be said about that hard work and hustle.
Yeah.
You know, I always get blown away by people who just start doing this, work a year, and think it's okay to hustle clients from someone who's built it from a massage table and a steamer and a jar of sugar from nothing. I had nothing when I started. Nothing. Yeah. So I see it like I gave them this great opportunity. You know, I say to people, if you feel like leaving your company, have the guts to stand up for yourself, go to the person and say, hey, I am not happy here. I am unhappy. I don't know what to do. I feel like leaving. And, you know, there are clients that want to come with me. And I always told all of them, if you leave and a client wants to go with you, what we're going to do first is offer them to see somebody else. If not, I'll give them your phone number. I'm not going to force anybody to stay here. There's plenty to go around. Mm-hmm. So I'm sorry, I'm talking your ears off. All six of them.
This is good. I mean, I think what you said about is I noticed, especially over the last few years, specifically after COVID, was a lot of the girls that were taking the aesthetics course and then coming out of it really truly did expect to go out on their own and make a ton of money and had no idea how. Yeah.
What was that, Erin?
100,000 out of school.
Yeah.
I do come across people I hire, because I'll hire someone right out of school and they have a fantastic opportunity working for us. They really do. But they still have to work for it, and it still takes a while.
Well, I think honestly, and I've said this before in another podcast, is, people, you make it look easy. So, employees, they are looking at it and they're not seeing what goes in on the back end, right? So all this additional work that you do to support the business, they don't see it. So here they are, service level, not diving deep at all, saying, I could do that too. When they don't really realize, until they're actually in it, until they burn these bridges, what it takes.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that. It reminds me of the second person number 2, when the client came to me and said, she showed me your sales totals for the month.
She showed a client?
Yeah. So here's another thing I learned. Keep all your shit private. Because I was so trusting. I didn't think anyone would go into my files. I didn't think anyone would go into my computer when I wasn't there. I just didn't think that.
Because they shouldn't. Because good, honest people don't.
Right. But she did. And she showed one of her clients.
Non-compete?
What was that?
Did you have an NDA on top of your non-compete and non-solicited?
Well, non-competes don't go in the state of California. So I have to be really clear. I had a non-disclosure, non-solicitation agreement. So yes, that was in there. She showed this client my monthly totals and says, why is she making this much and I'm not? And it's okay, do you even know that a quarter of that to a third of that is payroll? Do you even know what my expenses are for the month? Do you even know that at that moment, because of after the pandemic and there was only 4 of us working as estheticians, that my salary was just above your pay. She had no idea.
And they don't care.
No, they don't care.
I have been through it, sitting down, teaching them about business. This is the breakdown. I mean, I think Becca was with me the last time when I did it in Vancouver, where I just lost my fucking mind. I had it on a sheet, on one of those huge Post-it boards, and I broke it down on this is how much rent is. We broke it down to the day on this is what it costs to put the key in the door and turn it. They don't care. Don't waste your breath. They don't care. And one of the things that you said a little bit earlier was, how the cancer kind of started to spread. You thought she was good, she left, but she was calling people, and how that. It is so important to nip that in the bud right away. I had someone that worked for me for 5 years, a very, very similar situation. I took it to court, or to a lawyer. And she started to spread that toxicity with the rest of the team. And I'm a huge believer that if the rest of the team is going to listen to that, it's time to wipe out the entire slate.
Exactly.
Close the business and start again. We recently had someone reach out to us, to me personally on Bright, who didn't leave the best way. She did one show with us and that's all it took. And, I asked her, what happened? And she said, one of the girls was starting to tell me about some stuff about the brand, and it's clearly not true, and I shouldn't have listened. And right there is all I needed to hear. Because if you're talking to someone else and colluding and starting shit in the background, you don't get to play on my team.
Yeah. No, I remember I remember the day that she left, or I got her immediate resignation, I remember that thinking, first there was this feeling of, how dare you do that to me, right? Again, my ego. Then the hurt, then of feeling so betrayed, and then feeling stupid. And then when the third one gave her notice, she was gracious enough to give me 3 days. I'm like, don't bother. We're good.
At that point.
I know. And then that next day, it was a Monday, and I had all these amazing clients come in and just feed my soul. And my marketing director said, Angela, you need to be laser focused right now. There is no time. She gave me the talk, and she's like, we are going to get through this. This is going to be better than ever. And I felt like, oh my God, it was like the universe just put a mighty wind in my shop and just said, babe, hang in, because it's going to be so much better. You just can't see it yet. Just hang in. And I did.
So, Angela, if you could change things, would you change it, or would you still pursue it?
No, I wouldn't have changed it. I've
What would you
changed as
do?
a result of it. And
Yeah.
I met the love of my life the day after the second one left. That was
Wow.
amazing. We just moved in together. That was
Uh-huh.
totally unexpected. We met at a funeral.
Whoa.
Wow.
Okay, that's a
Yeah,
whole other
That was
podcast.
a whole other thing, but that was quite amazing. And their support and kindness, and twice a week coffees that they'd send me because I was working so much, and flowers they'd just send me, and hang in there. And that support was unreal. Unreal.
What advice would you give to other business owners that are thinking about pursuing legal action with an employee that solicits clients?
Go with your gut. Go with your gut and think of, if I do this and the outcome is not in my favor, will I still be okay with that? But you did it because ethically it was the right thing to do. And if you are second guessing it, not going to do it, thinking you shouldn't, will you regret that decision in 6 months or a year?
That's good. That's really good.
That's where I went from. Because you weren't the only person that told me not to go for it. I had people say, oh, don't waste your time. And it was like, you know what? I remember driving back from the show thinking, I have to do this. And I had to wait. Like, this thing happened in April of last year. I didn't file until September because I was playing catch up, hiring new people. I had gotten a manager in there that really wasn't what I needed as a general manager, that she didn't come until this February. And really have policies and procedures in place. And I now know that I have to be that face of our policies and procedures. And sometimes I need to be reminded, Angela, you're the star of the show, man. You have to act as if my general manager, she's not afraid to tell me what's up. She also, said to me, at what point, because they feel this, at what point are you going to start trusting them? And I said, I don't know if I will, but I can act as if I do. And it's brought a much more enjoyable work environment. And this has happened a few times. So as far as people leaving, of course, yes, you can make more money working for yourself, but no, if you want to be successful at it, do it ethically. Work your ass off yourself. Don't pull in clients that someone's been paying you to take care of the companies.
Yeah.
Listen,
Work your ass off.
Kim Kardashian almost got canceled through this Vanity Fair interview where they said, what is the best advice that you would provide women to get into business? And she said, get up and work your fucking ass off. And people were so mad about it. And I was like, why? Why?
Yeah.
Work your ass
They
off.
tore her up.
Work your ass off.
And I was like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know, if anyone's got to work even harder, it's someone like them, right? That maybe doesn't, you know, sing or dance or perform, literally has a reality show. On that note, you know, I think it's important to remind people that if you're coming out of school, and I think it's number one, when you're coming out of school, you have to go work for someone. You really need to know what it's like because you have zero idea. And if you have the opportunity to work with someone like Angela that has the experience, has the brand, has the knowledge, will take you under her wing, show you how to actually perform the services. Because guess what? You're not learning it in school. You're not learning it in school. You're doing maybe one Brazilian if you're lucky. Take that opportunity and be honest about what your future goals are. Because guess what? Business owners want to help you become successful. They want you to learn. Yeah. They want you to know the ins and outs of the business. And then when you're ready to move on, do it on your own. Find your own clients. Don't steal shit from people on what they have built up. Because guess what? Karma's a bitch. She takes a long time to come around sometimes, but when she comes back, it ain't pretty.
Yeah.
No.
And when you're stealing clients, like you said earlier, Angela, they'll never have what the Sweetest Skin Company is.
Yeah.
Because they're starting on the wrong foot, and that is going to attract negativity. Like, you can't build an honest business if your early days, you're piggybacking off of someone else. It's just 100%. It's going to come back, and it's never going to be the right culture because you're attracting clients that are not truthful themselves.
Yeah. And, you know, I get it. Some of these clients, you know, there's a lot of clients I don't even meet. I don't know them. I don't know them. I get when your person leaves. When my hairstylist left that place and went to go work in her home, I went with her. She rented a chair. The circumstances were a little different. But I was always very clear with them. We're going to offer. They're going to usually say no. And I'm going to give them your phone number. I have no problem doing that. And if anyone who really knows me, it was so funny how they just trashed me at the end of the show. If anyone watches it, you'll see about hostile work environment and unprofessional. And it's so funny to me.
That is such a
anyone who knows me
word that everyone is using when they choose to leave a company and talk shit about it. Wasn't good for my mental health. I feel triggered right now.
Gave me anxiety. Triggered. It's like, okay, I understand that. I understand workplaces like that, but I have 10 employees right now that say different.
And you wouldn't have been in for as long as you've been in if you had a hostile, triggering, abusive work environment. You would have been out of business a long time ago.
Yeah, it's true. No one will put up with that. Clientele won't either, you know? They won't.
There's this quote from Tinks, if you guys know her, and I think it applies here too. Her quote is about ex-boyfriends, and she says, "They always come back or their life gets worse." And I think it's the same in a lot of instances in life. They will come back or their life gets worse.
And to piggyback on that, you know, one of my current employees, who's now my lead esthetician, so I'm not training anymore. I actually am just getting one of my other estheticians to be the lead sugar trainer, who's starting her sugaring education now to be an educator. The 5-year person number one ran into her at a Target, right? Kind of ran after her into the ladies' room and said, "Hey, I just want to explain things." And then another one, the third one who left, happens to my assistant manager and the third person, their kids are on the same team, little league or whatever team. She comes up to her and says, I didn't want to leave that. Can I write Angela an email? Do you think she'd accept a letter? Nothing's come of it. But it's like, I don't live with that. I know it's on their mind. And I don't need an apology. I don't need someone to explain anything, And here's the other thing. I moved so far past it. Like, it's so over. It happened in October of last year. I can't believe it's been almost a year since I appeared in court. And so many amazing things have been a result of this. So if I can help any business owners,
win stupid prizes.
Yeah. So if I can help any other business owners, or even people who are wanting to work for somebody and they're having the thought of, well, fuck her, or fuck him. I can do this on my own. Okay. Yeah, you can. Just know you leave all the shit that you took with you, they gave you at the door, and start your shit on your own. Mm-hmm. Don't be a dick. I'm glad I could say that on the podcast.
Yeah, no, I think it's so important.
Life,
yeah,
don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Words to live by.
Yeah.
Okay, final words, Angela. Is Judge Judy like she is on TV?
She'll cut a bitch. Like if you saw the episode, she's like, I didn't ask you that. I wasn't talking to you. I wasn't talking. I mean, it was just, she was a kick. And there was a point where she even said that she wasn't, at the end when she's talking to her granddaughter, Sarah, that she wasn't even sure. But when she heard how many clients were solicited, and there was more, that was just the number off the top of my head. She didn't want to know percentages. She wanted to know amount of people. It was a lot more than the amount I said. But that's what switched her. Because this gal also had gone in, allegedly. I have reason to believe. I had everyone's contract, but that one. I had everyone's signed contract.
You're now uploading it into a drive somewhere, right?
Uploading
digital.
What? Digital
Their
contracts.
files.
Everything's digital. Everything is digital. I have 2 copies, one digital behind a closed, locked office door, and then also in the files. Heck yeah.
Well, as a business owner,
what did I do wrong?
I was really excited to see the outcome on the business owner's side. It was really, really, really refreshing to see a small business protected, because we do work so hard behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. On that note, I know we want to talk about how people can follow you, and then I am going to end it with a disclaimer. So, Angela, where can people find you, social media, and then what episode is it, and where can they watch this? We'll also link it in the bio below.
So my website is thesweetestskinco.com. Instagram is at The Sweetest Skin Co. Facebook at The Sweetest Skin Co. We started a TikTok page. Haven't gotten very far with it yet, but and then I think that's the places you can follow me right now. Hey, Luba, really quick, I listened to the last podcast that you posted, that you were interviewed.
Outside the treatment room.
Outside the treatment room. I never heard that podcast before, and so gracious sharing your story of your hard work and hustle and what everything you went with. Respect, sister.
Thank you.
Deep respect.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I have my staff listen to it. Like, you gotta hear this.
That's great. Please tell them to subscribe.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. So that's where they can find me. It's Judy Justice on Amazon Free TV, Season 2, Episode 67.
And for our Canadian listeners, because I was having a tough time finding it when I was in Canada, Becca is going to link the YouTube episode in the bio below. So if you can't see it on Amazon because you're in a different country, you can actually see it on this YouTube channel that we found. So
That's really cool. I'm going to send that to some friends of mine overseas that wanted to see that and up in Canada.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
I'll email it to you.
Well done, Becca.
I just Googled Justice, right? I didn't even Google Justice Judy because I didn't know it was a new show. I just Googled Judge Judy non-compete skincare and it came up. And Luba was like,
how cool.
I was like, I
perfect.
Right?
Okay.
That's amazing.
So Angela, thank you so
SEO
much
for good.
Thanks so much for joining us today. Thank you for sharing your story. We're so happy and thrilled for you on the outcome of this. It was incredible having you. So
it's incredible knowing you, Luba. It's knowing women like you tells me I'm doing something right.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. So the information provided in this video does not and is not intended to constitute legal advice or is a contract. Instead, all information, content, and material available in this video are for general informational purposes only and based on publicly available information. Information in this video does not constitute the most up-to-date legal or other information. The video description may contain links to other third-party websites. Such links are only for the convenience of the viewer, user, or browser. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Between Both Cheeks. Till next week.
Thanks for having me.